NFL Awards Watch, the best players across the league. We've got thoughts and analysis there. And Josh Booty, former LSU quarterback, also played in the NFL and Major League Baseball, two-sport athlete, and the uncle of
General Booty, or General Booty.
Josh Booty joins us. That will be an hour from now. Looking forward to that chat as we'll talk LSU football and much more across the college football landscape. Christian McCaffrey rumored to be on the move at the trade deadline, which is November 1st. They made it easy on us. The calendar did. Based on where this falls this year. And we're, 3 weeks away, 2.5 weeks away from knowing if it's going to be busy or not. There was some movement. Von Miller, and around this time, we were about 3 weeks away from Odell Beckham Jr. signing with L.A. last year. But this year, the talk is Christian McCaffrey to the Rams.
It's certainly more of an occasion than it used to be. Cam Akers is completely in the doghouse. They're looking to help him find a new home.
But what's interesting is, so they still have Odell Beckham Jr.'s locker in their locker room. And it's got his practice jersey. Pitch. Yeah, I mean, keep in mind, he's not on the team. Agent. And he's not like he's rehabbing on IR and they expect to release him or something. He left and he's recovering from the knee, and it's assumed he's going there. Von Miller, by the way, was the reason why. Well, there were many reasons, but a big reason why he's friends with Von Miller. Von was traded there and recruited Odell there because it was going to be L.A. or Green Bay. And Von publicly to the media says Odell Beckham Jr. will be a Buffalo Bill. Mark my words. And he said, he recruited him last year.
Here's the thing about McCaffrey getting traded. $18.35 million of his signing bonus gets prorated. And Carolina has $9.8 million in cap room. So they would have to do a bunch of manipulating to be able to take that cap burial. That's the other thing. DJ Moore, a lot of Titans fans in Nashville want DJ Moore. Well, that would be at least $14.65 for Carolina. So do you want to restructure, extend guys on your current roster, not knowing who your next coach is, in order to take that cap beating now? It's a hard thing to do.
Well, that's what Atlanta's kind of going through.
Yeah. So, I mean, it makes sense to try to do it now if you want to restart, but you have to make some moves that influence the future in order to take that beating now.
And if they do it now, Scott Fitterer's keeping his job. I haven't heard that definitive statement saying he's the future GM either.
No, but when did Scott Fitterer get hired?
It was 4 years ago now.
In conjunction with Rule?
No, I think it was right after.
So he maybe gets a second. Usually if you come in after the head coach, the second guy in generally lasts for a second coach or a second GM, whichever you are. Now we know Tepper's got giant money, giant aspirations, and all of that. Is he more patient?
He was only. I'm sorry. Yeah, he was recently named there. He was named there 2 years ago. He was with Seattle.
I would think he lasts. He has a good reputation coming in. Hasn't had a lot of time to roster build.
So now's the time.
Yeah. Now, I don't know how much say he has in the coach, but just based on Tepper. And I think he'd be agreeable to anybody, having been being a young GM. But I think these cap dollars make things a lot more difficult than a lot of people want to believe. And I understand there's been more trade deadline movement, but it's not. It hasn't turned into baseball deadline movement.
I just love how it has turned into that for the Rams. It seems like that. Well, the Rams will probably do it. They're just now the presumptive team because it worked out so well a year ago that they're going to make it happen, even if it looks dire, which, quite frankly, it does right now for this Rams team, the way they've looked so far this year. But they don't care. I'm sure they're looking at it and saying, we won it a year ago. We bring in a piece here and a piece there, and we'll be right back in the playoffs.
But what do they need the
with
most?
A chance to make a run.
They need a boost on the offensive line.
They need receiver.
Sure. They need receiver, but Allen Robinson's right there. They just haven't figured him out. And so what they need is to figure out, Allen Robinson and Armando said it well, he's a 50-50 guy, and Stafford has been unwilling to throw 50-50 balls. That's a kind of figure it out in-house thing.
Well, they also it's one of two things, or it's a combination of both. They're not protecting him. He's been sacked 21 times, and I think he still has that elbow issue.
Yeah.
And he's also back to throwing more picks than he is touchdowns. So that this is the bad version of a combination of a quarterback dealing with something, letting it rip and turning it over, not having a run game, and an offensive line that is nowhere close to what it was a year ago, and neither are the Rams.
They are certainly, though, more likely than most, to Chad's point, to look at it and say, NFC, nobody's running away with things here. We don't feel like there's anybody that we can't beat. We could get on a run. We could get on a run with some tinkering and go do it again.
And I know
there are other teams that might say, you know what,
we'll be more prudent and play the long game or wait for next season.
We might get on a run, but we could be more prudent. It's no time to be giving away draft picks.
We might be okay without doing this and bringing this player in. And other teams, it feels like you could always play the Rams off of other teams as this sort of hot-headed threat that is willing to make a move like that. If they see any opening at all, any inkling of light for a Super Bowl, that they could pounce on it and make that move.
Is this the offseason, or not the offseason, is this the year, a season later, where the Packers make a move? Aaron Rodgers has said he expects to add some weapons.
They should be in the Odell market.
No doubt. Yeah, I agree. So I think here's the issue with the trade deadline this year compared to last year. And maybe it was exactly the same. Maybe not. I feel like we had more sellers. I don't know. I think it's very difficult 2.5 weeks from now or whatever, November 1st. What date is it? October 19th, sorry. I'm looking at this going, okay, who's going to be selling and who's buying? Who's going to know? What team's going to know? Right now,
it's a GM's confidence level.
You have 10 teams with winning records today, 10 with 3-3 records, and then you have 12 with losing records. But those 12, as of right now, the Cleveland Browns are only a game behind the lead in their division. Think about that.
Everybody feels in.
And no one's buying the Cleveland Browns. But they're thinking, oh, we can go on a run. We're going to get Sean back. So are the Browns selling? No. At least I wouldn't think they would, not after what they bought into.
Yeah, you've got a lot of...
Who's buying and who's selling and who's trying to, be a year ahead instead of looking ahead to the next year.
Also, it doesn't look like, oftentimes we'll think, and fans will think, I'm all about getting in the tournament. If you can get the 7th seed even, you get in and you take your chances. But it really looks that way right now, right? If you can get in, you're not like, boy, the gap between me is the 7 and the 1. Maybe you're saying that in the AFC, the gap between you and the Bills and the Chiefs. But even so, you're saying, you know what? This thing's pretty muddled, was your word from earlier in the week, and just the right word. I'll get in the tournament and take my chances. I could see a lot of Jim Fassel in this year with we're putting all our chips in the table. Because as of right now, and look, a month from now it could be different. There could be a couple teams that win 4 in a row, and things could feel completely different. But right now, they're only, 4. Well, we're going to do our picks here later. Every team that I've kicked out of the playoffs, I feel like is definitely not in the playoffs. And what are we, up to 6 now? So I've got at least 6 teams I feel comfortable about. No chance.
I feel very comfortable with my list that we're going to unveil in a little bit.
You've got one.
Of 6 teams.
I think you both have one that Hutton's got reasonable regret.
I think
Hutton should have reasonable
I think Hutton's
regret.
got 2 that I would be concerned about. I'm not concerned about anyone on my list yet. But to your point, Paul, I should be. Probably because I've said it throughout. This is not a good year for the NFL. There's one great team. There's maybe another good team or 2. And then there's a bunch of teams kind of the same, middling around the same area, and there's a few bad teams at the very bottom. But I also think you're in a position where if you're one of those middling teams, you kind of know.
Let's play this game.
You kind of know whether or not you're really a contender to go on a run and that you should be a buyer right now and not a seller.
Let's play this game. I give you right now Bills, Eagles, Super Bowl. You don't know how the rest of the season plays out.
Oh, yeah.
You take it, or you think something happens the rest of the season.
I would take the field.
You take the field.
I mean, that's every year in the NFL. Over 2 teams, I would take a different matchup if it's only 2 teams.
It's probably smart, but you're going to take it?
I mean, I thought you were going to say, would I take it versus trying to figure out which other teams make a move?
Well, versus the field as the season plays out.
Well,
or you believe in those 2 teams enough that you think that'll be the best game.
The 2 teams we expect.
Right.
Well, yeah.
But it's looking awfully good for those 2 teams
and
off the evidence we have so far.
the war of attrition that is the NFL. I mean, we've got a long way to go.
Yeah.
But, if we don't have that far to go to get to the trade deadline. And right now, I mean, if you're in the NFC South, Tampa and Atlanta are both 3-3. New Orleans could get their 3rd win tomorrow night against Arizona. Arizona's thinking the same thing. Both of those teams are 2-4, and Arizona's getting Hopkins back. So they could pick up their 3rd win and think, oh, we have DeAndre Hopkins back. We just won our 3rd. Let's go. And then Seattle, San Francisco, L.A., all 3-3.
Geno Smith, fire up.
It's really hard not to take the
How is Seattle not a seller today?
Yeah.
Think about that.
Broncos country, let's ride.
It's really hard not to take the recency currency bias and say, though, I would sign up for Bills, Eagles right now.
Oh, I'd love
because
to
it's hard to not
that
imagine that would be a great Super Bowl.
I mean, look, it's bad.
One of them, odds are one of them is not going to be there.
Someone's about to reel off 6 straight wins, and we're going to be saying, man, I'd love to see that team. I want to see this Jets team in the playoffs to see that they're a year ahead of schedule, or whoever. There's going to be someone that's going to surprise us for sure. But, yeah, right now it's Bills in the AFC, Eagles in the NFC. I don't think it's a big surprise. Hey, early lines just came out for 2 big games coming up in college football. Ohio State, Michigan, and Tennessee and Georgia.
Ohio State by 6.
These are very early lines. It's Michigan at Ohio State.
6.
You say 6?
Michigan at Ohio State. I'm going to say 7.5.
10.5. Wow. Ohio State by 10.5. Tennessee at Georgia. Hutton, you start with this one.
Okay. I know what's coming
Tennessee,
up, too, on that show.
Keep in mind, this is in 2.5 weeks. Whereas Michigan, Ohio State, that's Thanksgiving weekend.
So this will be
the first week of November.
This is either lopsided one way or the other for emphasis on Tennessee. But they value Georgia on a neutral field. So we know they value Georgia at home, which is going to play a factor. So I think they're valuing Georgia heavier than Ohio State, Michigan by 3 points more.
So you're saying
13?
I'm saying
14?
14.
I'm saying 4.5.
Or 13. Sorry, it's 10.5. So you're saying 13.5. Yeah.
4.5.
Hutton was closer. 11.5.
I think that's
10.5.
I would like to bet on that game right now.
So where will they be 2 weeks from now? The spread, I'm saying. Georgia, Tennessee.
Who's Georgia play in the meantime?
Georgia has the cocktail party. They're both off this week. They have the cocktail party the week before. Tennessee has UT Martin, essentially a bye week this Saturday in Kentucky. So, I mean, those 2 games and how they come out of it injury-wise.
Is it a single-digit spread by kickoff, or do you think it goes up the way Alabama did?
I think if Tennessee were to beat Kentucky by 14-plus points, 20-plus points, and not have any major injuries, it's a touchdown line by kickoff. I think if Tennessee loses a guy, loses to Kentucky, it's going to be closer to 20. I think there could be a 7-point swing one way or the other by the time kickoff rolls around.
I think they beat Kentucky by double digits, 10-12, and Tillman comes back and shows he's healthy in that game. I would think it would drive it down.
Tillman should be back. If he comes back and does anything against Kentucky, I think that will play a factor. I mean, it didn't play much of a factor with the line when he was out for the Florida game initially. So maybe a point here or there. It's interesting. We're a ways from those games, but those early lines are out.
Dallas Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott medically cleared to play. That according to Mike McCarthy today through Jane Slater. Tomorrow, they are going to allow him to throw 40 to 50 passes in practice. There you go.
Look, it's a good week. They're playing Detroit, right?
Mm-hmm. Detroit
lets you score. I mean, they're not capable of stopping you from scoring.
That is,
so
yes.
it would be a good week for him, even if he's not feeling completely right. And Dallas plays phenomenal defense. You would think it's an advantageous week for them. I think they would help Goff screw up. though Goff has been generally pretty good. They did just get shut out by New England before the bye. I think it's a nice matchup for them for recovery week.
I agree. And they've, the Lions were banged up going into their bye week. They should be refreshed a bit. But if Dak's coming back, to me, he's ready to go. I would not force the issue against the Lions, knowing that you can score on them with practically anyone you want to.
Yeah.
Right? And knowing that your defense can build off of what the Patriots just did to them defensively.
And you didn't rush it against Philly, though he may not have had medical clearance. But if you didn't rush it for Philly, you're not rushing it for Detroit. So I would buy that he's ready.
NLCS, ALCS. We know the Phillies have won. They're about to have first pitch again, aren't they? For game 2?
I don't know what time it starts. Do you know that this game is
minutes.
Aaron Nola versus Austin Nola brothers?
I did not know that.
No, but that's awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing. Oh no, it's a pitcher batter brother combo to face each other in pitches. So Aaron Nola's pitching, Austin Nola will hit against him.
That game starts Hutton in 19 minutes, 3:35 p.m. Central Time.
And then tonight, Yankees.
I think it's 6:37.
So what was do we know the travel schedule? It's in New York, correct?
No, it's in Houston. So the Yankees celebrated a little bit and then got on a plane.
I thought the Yankees were going to host.
Paul's very confident in the Yankees on the short
No,
trip.
So it's 2-3-2 now. So
I thought the Yankees were hosting. Oh, I know. I remember what you said. You said the American League's hosting the World Series.
Yes.
Yeah, that's where I got
the
mixed
Yankees
up.
collapse late in the season allowed the Astros to have the best record.
Home field.
That's where Paul was saying the
ALCS.
Yankees would be hosting regardless if they can go on this run.
Can beat the Astros.
Yeah, gotcha. So what was the travel schedule like?
I think they celebrated last night for a little while, and then, it's like leaving for a road trip after you finish a home series. Got on buses to planes.
Destroyed that locker room and got out of there.
It was relatively
real
subdued.
drunk, and then got
their
on
on-field celebration was pretty
day.
subdued.
That's interesting. So
mob the pitcher.
now I am really intrigued on Paul's confidence because this entire day I thought they were hosting. You're like, you know what? They're going to build off of last night. They're going to go right into game 1 and be fine. I feel very confident about this. But the travel schedule on the top of just the wine and champagne celebration in the locker room.
Yeah, I'm curious about your confidence, where that's coming from.
In game 1. Not in the series,
Verlander
just game 1.
Verlander over-rested again.
Yankees are plus 158 right now.
Yeah.
Tell us what to do.
I'm gonna bet on it. I'm gonna find something else. I'll pick a home run guy.
Well, hang on, Chad's about to make a bet.
No, I'm doing it because I'm going into your
conference. Is the lineup out yet? If Matt Carpenter's starting, I would bet on Matt Carpenter to hit a home run.
2-leg parlay right now. I'm going Padres and Yankees money line together. That a $5 bet would give you $20.
So people know this if they care. I was mistaken that Cabrera was knocked out of the game on the collision yesterday. It was Hicks that was knocked out, which is good. Hicks' season is over. So Hicks sucks.
2 of your worst players
but they have a
anymore.
left field question now because they don't have an easy answer in left field. So they promoted now on this Peraza. The rookie shortstop is up. They have Cabrera, so they could play Cabrera in left field and Peraza at shortstop. That would be ideal, but 2 kids. And so you were talking about the youth of the Indians, or we talked about the youth of the Indians. They could go that route. I don't see a lineup out yet, but it should be out soon. Or Stanton can conceivably play some outfield. He's limited. Carpenter can conceivably play some left field. He's limited. But in Houston, that outfield and left field would allow for one of those guys for 2 games. You come back to Yankee Stadium, they can't play out there in a more spacious left field. So the parks could dictate what the Yankees do lineup-wise with left field. And then you could get Carpenter and Stanton in the lineup with one of them DHing and one of them playing left field on the road at least.
While we're going through injuries, I'll go back to football just with the practice reports coming out. And I'll start with Thursday Night Football with the Saints. Marshawn Lattimore is out, as is Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry. Andrews Pete and Adam Troutman are also out for the matchup against the Cardinals. Meanwhile, Sunday's matchups. I apologize. An update on Hollywood Brown for the Cardinals. Cliff Kingsbury says he's out indefinitely, but at least 1 month. So they got good news back that it was just a fractured foot that did not require surgery, but it's going to keep him out indefinitely. They've got Hopkins back. They have made the trade with the Panthers for Robbie Anderson. So, and they were deep at receiver in the preseason. The receiving options are not a massive concern in terms of this and how long they can manage this. And Green Bay Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers, he's dealing with a right thumb injury, and he did not practice today. I normally don't see him on the injury report for not practicing, so I think it's worthy of mentioning that he did not practice with an injury designation.
Well, Wednesday for a quarterback is the leeway day, if you will. So tomorrow's a big day.
And for the Colts, they've been banged up in the backfield. Jonathan Taylor was limited, and Naheem Hines, he is full participant in practice. He was in concussion protocol. So they may be getting back their 2 best running backs for Sunday's game at Nissan Stadium.
And they had, interestingly, 3 guys not injury-related. Stephon Gilmore, center Ryan Kelly, pass rusher Yannick Ngakoue, not injury-related, did not practice. So I guess they're resting some guys up, the Colts, as they head here for the second Colts-Titans game in a month.
There are some teams where practice is doing them no good. And for that, we're telling them the GTFO. That's coming up next. We'll eliminate some playoff contenders, and we'll just call them pretenders whenever we return. Plus, we have another quarterback returning to the sideline and to the field this week. We will discuss Tua Tagovailoa and expectations for the Dolphins a bit later this hour on OutKick 360.
Hey, listen, if you missed my show, don't at me. I've got you covered. Take a look. Amazon gets the first Black Friday game. Don't tell me, Jimmy Irsay. Don't give me this crap about the Shield. It ain't about the Shield. It's about the Benjamins. You got games on Monday, Thursday, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's Day, Black Friday. Hell, you'd have a game on Independence Day, and you will eventually. You'll eventually move the damn Canton game all the way over to the 4th of July. Don't even at me about it, people. Don't even try to at me about it, people. You know that's coming. You do. You know that's coming. We all know that's coming. So don't at me. Man, the NFL, I'll listen. But don't even try that crap with me. I know 5 different people, 3 women, 2 guys, or maybe it's the other way. Yeah, it's the other way around, that hired private investigators when they were going through divorces. I mean, I did. So, you know, what do media guys do when they don't like you or they don't like me or they try to dig up dirt? So this isn't about, maybe Jimmy Irsay's comments were in response to digging up dirt, which clearly they were, but the NFL getting rid of him isn't about hiring private investigators. I mean, hell, private investigators get hired because Susie down the street wants to know what cheating Jimmy is doing in a hotel room when he's gone. This is about workplace environment, right? I mean, that's what this is truly about.
I think it's become about that. I think that left the door open for Malusa's team.
9 to 11 Eastern time at OutKick.com.
What's up, guys? It's Tommy. Make sure you follow me on social media at Tommy Laren and check out OutKick.com for exclusive content. But in case you missed my last episode, here's what you missed. Does it frustrate you at all that this no cash bail, some of these felon coddling policies that allow people to commit even violent crimes and then be released, does that at all frustrate you that that's swept up in that banner of criminal justice reform? Because to me, it seems like it does a great disservice to what you're actually trying to do, and people don't know the difference.
I think what's frustrating me the most right now is that we are going on 50 years of tough on crime policies, and we've got the data to show that they don't work. We've got the data to show that if we reinvest money that we're saving from not incarcerating that person for a technical violation, from not locking up that person for, using drugs, from not locking up somebody who has a severe mental health issue and needs to get help, If we're actually reinvesting that money into programs that work, we have data, we have evidence that shows that it works, that these folks will get back on their feet and succeed, and that it'll prevent new crimes from happening, because the last thing we want is crime on our streets.
The service said they have dissuaded him from coming to Capitol Hill. They told him they don't have the resources to protect him here. So at the moment he is not coming, but that could change.
Oh, he comes, I'm going to punch him out. This is my
I
moment.
would pay to see
I've
that.
been waiting for this, for trespassing on the Capitol grounds. I'm going to punch him out, and I'm going to go to jail, and I'm going to be happy.
Ladies, gentlemen, they, thems, that would be our elderly Speaker of the House threatening to punch out a sitting president and be happy about it. Boy, for all the grief Donald Trump got and still gets about being not presidential, that right there doesn't sound very congressional to me, Nancy. But of course, no one on the left is condemning the Speaker for her threat of violence. Instead, it's celebrated as valiant, badass, and noble. What's up, guys? It's Tommy, and I am getting married. So tune in tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern for a special wedding edition episode. You don't want to miss this.
Coming up, we'll discuss the Jermaine Burton incident where he's on camera leaving Neyland Stadium while Vols fans are storming the field, and he hits or slaps a woman in this video that Trey Wallace has wrote about. He wrote this at OutKick.com. And then there's another fan that also gets into like a face to the...
well, the other is, it was like his... like if you had your cell phone out like this in front of you,
yeah,
he like hits the phone up into the guy.
Yeah,
you know, almost like smacks the phone back into his face.
Yeah, well,
when he's filming,
we'll discuss the response by Saban, by Sankey, and others. Greg Sankey was asked about this. We'll discuss.
I have not seen his response.
It wasn't much. He was blaming. This is why we encourage everyone to stay in the stands. We've got thoughts on that.
He took the "she deserved it" stance that I've gotten a lot on social media.
Ridiculous.
Some other ridiculous play is happening across the NFL. And each week at this time, we're taking a look at some playoff eliminators. It's tough to figure out which teams are contending or pretending at this point. When you look through the records, there are not many really solid teams you trust, and a lot of very average record-wise teams that could go a number of ways. But here's our list of teams we have already decided on. They don't stand much of a chance, and I've got at least two on my list that I'm a bit concerned about, just based on the view of the AFC right now. I've eliminated the Texans, the Jets in Week 2, the Las Vegas Raiders in Week 3, and then I tried to, actually use my brain here. Carolina Panthers, Denver Broncos, and this week, I'm adding the Chicago Bears. And as I was doing some work for One Big Thing on every NFL game later, I came across this stat, which I'm not using for Chicago. Justin Fields, for whatever reason, you would think, like, if you're really bad at quarterback, you're throwing very short passes. Justin Fields has completed 23 passes of 10 yards or more, and he has completed only 21 passes of 9 yards or less.
Wow.
Now, to understand how crazy this is, I was looking through the 33rd team for this, and they pulled Josh Allen's numbers. Josh Allen, to compare on those numbers, again, 23 for 10 yards or more, 21 for 9 or less. Josh Allen has 85 completions of 9 yards or less and 45 completions of 10 yards or more.
That's normal.
This Bears offense is, for whatever reason, it's
pitiful.
Ass backwards.
Inverted.
Right?
Like they were inverted.
Yeah. I'm thinking, what are they doing in Chicago when they actually decide to throw the football? Whatever it is, it's the wrong decision.
Also,
and
they
that's
don't have
why,
receivers to catch those 10-yard plus passes.
Yeah, GTFO Bears.
Yeah. You were late on the Bears somehow.
You know, some crawl before you can
terrible.
and walk before you can run, and run before you can sprint. The Bears are attempting to sprint before they can move, and instead they're just dead for that very reason. That's what their offense is attempting right now. And for that very reason, that's why I'm going to eliminate the very same team this week. Yes, I could have done it earlier, but also I love all the teams that I've eliminated so far. If these teams aren't doing anything, maybe the Colts, but they're going to come to Nashville and probably get beat this weekend and go back to sleep, go back into their slumber. Commanders in week 1, Texans in week 2, Panthers in week 3. Feel great about those.
Yep.
Colts I feel less great about. Broncos country, let's ride. Let's ride right out into the offseason because you're not going to the playoffs. Russell Wilson's terrible. Nathaniel Hackett's one and done. Love that pick in week 5. Week 6, I'm going with the Bears. Paul, you said last week we were waiting too long on the Bears. I knew we would come around. I even said, I think this was right before the Thursday night game. We did this a week ago. I'm thinking, if they lose to the Commanders, they're definitely going to be the easy pick for week 6 to eliminate from the playoffs. Because of that, Bears, you're out this week.
I'm with you.
I had one.
No, you've already had Chicago out.
Yeah, I had Chicago out a while ago.
Is this the week you're going Denver?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm going Denver. A big surprise here. Panthers, Commanders, Texans, Bears, Steelers, who I have no regrets about. They pulled a nice upset of the Bucs. The Bucs also are bad right now. And, that was an anomaly. They're still terrible. And the Broncos, we all agree. I mean, the Broncos, I didn't think the Broncos, I thought the Broncos would be the last place team in the AFC West. I don't have a lot. I'm not as big on Russell Wilson as anybody, as most people coming into this whole thing. But I never expected it would be this bad. And I think the Broncos are the single biggest story in the league, that they are this atrocious. I think it's a bigger story than Philadelphia being 6-0. I think it's a bigger story than the Bills being 5-1 and having beaten Kansas City and potentially lining up.
What about the Giants?
For the AFC to go through? Giants, I think, are right there with them. But the Broncos, because they've been on national TV so much, Hutton, are bigger because everybody's seen it. Everybody hasn't seen the Giants doing what they're doing. We've got to stop seeing. Yeah. We've got to create new flex rules just to get the Broncos off TV to save all of us. Chad's right. NFL football's been bad this year, but if they keep showing us the Broncos, there's no way out of it. The Broncos are horrible. So I think you each have one to have trepidation about. You came in last week and said it outright about the Jets. Chad, I think the Colts suck, but there's a real path
I'm worried about
for
anyone,
them.
it's the Colts.
I don't think there's a real path for any of my teams. I just don't.
So I brought in a.
What about the Steelers after that win over the
Bucs?
Bucs?
I don't think there's a path in that.
Doesn't make you a little bit nervous after they upset Tampa?
I think it's an anomaly.
Yeah, me neither. It's probably my next team on the list.
The thing is that,
I'm asking because I've circled them as my next team.
But I have to say, I think this is a good game that we're playing, and I think in 3 weeks, if things continue as they are, it's going to get really hard.
Oh yeah,
I think it's already kind of difficult because of the muck.
Yes,
because everyone's just in the wash right now, and it's not. There's no one separating enough. I mean, I think that Pittsburgh win over Tampa is a great example.
We're going to start
That's a game you think, Tampa's a double-digit favorite. They're going to go up there with Tom Brady, and they're going to win, and they're going to start to beat Tampa with Tom Brady again. And they lose to Kenny Pickett in Pittsburgh, who had looked awful in the prior weeks. It's just everyone's
it's going to be fun
in this dirty wash right now, the NFL.
So the Steelers and the Browns played the Ravens this week in Baltimore. with a win, they will have the same record as Baltimore. The Bengals this week are back home. If they lose and the Steelers win, I'm not saying they're playing.
The whole division will be the same.
Exactly the same. Right now, you have 2 teams at 3-3 and 2 teams at 2-4. And a lot of head-to-head matchups to come. This is not the AFC South, is my point.
Yeah, and I'd say that's unlikely, but in the way this year is going, I won't be surprised a bit if Monday morning that's where we are.
At some point, they're getting T.J. Watt back, right? And they do have Mike Tomlin as their head coach, who we all trust, to get it on. I mean, we haven't seen him have a losing season, which is remarkable. And if he's going to do it, it's going to be this year, but he somehow finds a way. So I wouldn't be concerned either, Paul, about the Steelers. I'm more concerned about the Jets with their 4-2 record.
I'm most concerned on my list with the Colts, especially if they even the score with the Titans this Sunday.
So that's a massive game for the Colts. Massive. I mean, they've had some big games that we've seen, but the Titans can lose this game, and they're even with the Colts in terms of the tiebreaker and stuff. It becomes harder for them, and there's no runaway scenario. If the Colts lose this one, the Titans aren't going to run away to the degree that they did last year, but they're sitting pretty.
Titans have the toughest schedule because of finishing first.
Yeah, but
as opposed to the other teams.
Some of those games that we tabbed as tough schedule for the Titans,
not as difficult.
Packers don't look real tough. I mean, it's hard to go to Lambeau and win, but I'm not particularly scared of the Packers right now. Certainly not the way we were scared of the Packers at the beginning of the season, where you say the Titans are not going to Lambeau Field on a Thursday night and winning.
But here's the thing. No one's scared about the Titans either.
No, agree.
I mean, let's also add that in
there. But they have this thing where they win games.
Ugly.
Like that they
Yeah, but I mean, on their schedule, you
Kansas City's a bad game, but like Denver before the season we thought was a game that would be challenging to them. I can't see them losing to the Broncos. I don't see anybody losing to the damn Broncos. I just think, look, they could win 3 out of the next 4 very easily, and it'd be hard to ignore their record, despite the fact that we know their deficiencies, which are obvious and aren't taking them anywhere in the playoffs.
Right now at OutKick.com, I've got the NFL Awards Watch, my weekly column at OutKick. I've got Josh Allen as the MVP. I led with this week because we saw the MVP showdown. I still have Mahomes, number 2. And Jalen Hurts is on my list as well with the accolades. He didn't have the greatest stat sheet, but he's on my 2 to watch, Mahomes and Hurts, because Hurts and what he's done offensively is, when you look at the top receivers in their offense and the numbers and points they're putting up, the second quarter alone is insane for Philly with their overall numbers.
Yeah. I think you've got the right 3. I may spin off of your thing this week and write about how you didn't have to consider for a second 2 guys who've won a bunch of MVPs in Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers, who you probably, when you started this thing at the beginning of the year, figured would be regularly rolling through your list.
Yeah, I kept them off. I mean, my one correct prediction of the 100 that were wrong is I thought this would be the year that we would see the passing of the guard, of the torch a bit. Now, again, we have a long way to go on that.
But so far,
they can make it back in. And if one of those 2 quarterbacks make a run, they're making this list fast because it's going to be about them.
Yeah, a lot of press.
Offensive Rookie of the Year is getting really good. Breece Hall is awesome.
He's terrific. I got him on one of my fantasy teams, and that guy's putting up numbers.
He's awesome. He followed up a big game in Week 5 where he had 20 carries, 116 yards, and then he forced 5 missed tackles in Green Bay, and then he housed a long touchdown run on this inside trap play where he just takes off and does a Lambeau leap. Awesome. Sauce Gardner, same thing for the Jets, wearing the cheese head after the game. I mean, both of those guys back-to-back weeks are leading my column for the rookie awards, and they're producing the week after to where it's hard to pass them.
They got raves for that draft, the Jets, and their top 2 guys are living up to the bill.
Stacking up nicely. It's one of those rare things that appears to be great and has been great early on.
And you rarely say that about the New York Jets.
Yeah. This is where it gets really interesting for Breece Hall, because right now it's him, and then there's a couple of rookie receivers that have been good. We don't give this to offensive line. I say we'll never see an offensive tackle
No.
Whenever you're comparing
It'd
it
have to be the second coming of Anthony Munoz.
Bailey Zappi made my contenders list. I only named 2 along with my winner. And Zappi, there are some vibes here. You can tell something is interesting behind the scenes in New England, right? And he's lighting. He's carrying the torch.
Got some record numbers, right?
Yeah, yeah. He's the first rookie since Sonny Jurgensen in '57 to win his first 2 career starts and have a 100 or better passer rating in each of those games.
It's remarkable.
Yeah, I mean he's doing great things, and they're scheming that up, and their defense. I mean, again, this is a formula for him to come in and have success, and it should be a formula for Mac Jones as well.
And he's not getting used to not having Josh McDaniels, as opposed to Mac Jones, who apparently, according to Albert Breer, is having some issues.
3 weeks ago, he's a third stringer. 3 weeks later, he's a part of the column that I'm discussing for top offensive rookies. The guy that I think we're about to see not getting mentioned enough, but he's really good, is Drake London. I left him in this week. And the reason I don't think he has a chance at this is we're about to see Atlanta, who's 3-3, continue with their identity, which is running the football. They're only throwing it like 16 times a game. And it's going to be extremely difficult unless London's going to take one to the house every week to make up some ground and win that. He was really good to start the season.
And get this on tape. Me crediting Marcus Mariota. He played an excellent game this week in an Atlanta win. And he's been more than they had any reason to suspect. I'm still going to say I expect he gets hurt somewhere along the way here, but looks like a smart call by that regime and Arthur Smith at this point.
One more to mention on the defensive rookie awards is Tariq Woolen, the corner in Seattle. Start paying attention if you have not already. Somehow, and I don't know how this happens. How much do we talk about speed at the combine?
That's all we talk about.
That's it, right? The dude ran 4.26 at the combine. He's from UT San Antonio. And he fell to the 5th round. Right now, he leads the entire NFL in total takeaways. And he's tied for the lead in interceptions with 4. He's had 4 straight weeks with a pick. And he is doing great things for a Seattle defense that is getting takeaways and allowing Geno Smith to take off. Here's the comparison, though, that drew my attention this week. The similarities between Woolen and former Seattle Seahawks corner Richard Sherman are crazy. Both players in college converted from wide receiver to corner. Both players were 5th-round picks. And what Woolen, by the way, this is even crazier, selected 153 overall. Sherman was 154. And both had 4 interceptions to begin their NFL career in year 1. Now, Woolen has a chance to do a lot more with that. We will hear more about him. We haven't seen enough of Seattle, like as a country, I'm saying. They're kind of sneaking up on everybody. It's because they've got a rookie class a lot like the Jets on the offensive line. Charles Cross is playing well. And
Mississippi
now
State.
Kenneth Walker III's in the backfield, and they have Geno Smith tearing everyone to shreds through the passing game with some good wide receiver play. There you go. There's NFL awards for Week 6. You can read more players available at OutKick.com.
Good job.
One of the players that was in the column for like the first 3 weeks of the season was Tua Tagovailoa. He dropped out because he's been in concussion protocol. He's back. He's been cleared. He's playing this week. We discuss what he had to say about this entire 2.5-week saga where we haven't heard from him, and they've been losing games. What happens now for the Dolphins? That's next on OutKick 360.
Hey, I'm David Hookstead, host of American Joyride, a podcast where we shine a spotlight on patriotism and American exceptionalism. Take a look.
This is something, again, that I really like to ask military guys because I feel like they have unique perspectives, sometimes that surprise people. But most importantly, in my opinion, anyone who's sacrificed on any level tends to be very grateful or more grateful than just your average person. So when you hear people maybe say that America is a terrible place or that we're an evil country full of evil people, do you kind of cringe when you hear that? Like, what's your reaction when you turn on the news and it's just nonstop negativity around the clock about how awful this place is?
Well, I actually don't turn on the news anymore because of that.
Smart.
It's one, not true. And it's unbelievably toxic how that mindset and hearing it all the time. Even if one, you believe it, then you go around believing that about your own nation all the time. Like, that's a horrible way to feel about who you is. They're not leaving, right? They're not finding a more noble country to go to. They're just staying here and they're sulking and they're spreading this horrible idea about how shameful we should all feel all the time. And I don't want to live that way, but I don't believe it. And so listening to it just pisses me off. I don't think that anyone is really able to say that with a straight face unless they have paid no attention to world history.
Right.
Like, it takes a real level of ignorance of history to say that America is unique in its cruelty. Like, it's just absurd. It's really, we're not void of it, but we are certainly not unique in it. I went on a bender around the time I went to Naked and Afraid because I felt like I could use these books to harness a better perspective and get me through the suffering that I anticipated. And they were recommendations by Jordan Peterson, who I like to, listen to a lot of the things he says. He's a very interesting person as well. But I read The Gulag Archipelago. I read Mao's Famine, Unit 731.
The old Japanese torture unit.
Oh, yeah. I read The Making of, what was it? It was another German book about the psychology of how they got these German policemen to do murders who were just regular cops.
Oh, yeah. I think I know what you're talking about. And it's about how, like, none of them opted out of it. Like, they just all were okay. I know the book you're referring to.
Yeah, man. And sort of the peer pressure involved, or the, how that happens. I read all of those books, and I'll be honest, it probably took me 3 or 4 months to get over them. Like, Unit 731 with the Japanese torture camps was specifically difficult. The rape of Nanking, that was another one. Holy hell. Like, how could you look at America and honestly believe, like, yes, we had slavery, but slavery was brought here because it was everywhere else, right? Like, this was the place everyone was going. We didn't invent it here, but we did get rid of it. And we killed a whole lot of people to do that. And I think that the people that say that, one, are either trying to be trendy and different, and they just don't understand what the hell they're saying.
Make sure to catch every single episode of American Joyride at OutKick.com.
Glad you're with us. OutKick 360 rolls on across the OutKick network. Tua Tagovailoa is back and says he's ready to go. He's cleared. And Mike McDaniel even said they have gone above and beyond even the enhanced concussion protocol to make sure that he's ready to return to practice and ready to return to the field this Sunday. So we'll see Tua out there. He says he remembers everything up to the hit and then doesn't remember anything on the field from that point, like getting carted off.
Second game, which was the Broncos, right?
Yes. No, the Bengals.
The Bengals.
Thursday night game.
Sorry, Bengals. Yeah.
So that
B teams.
Yeah. So that is his recollection of it. But the good news is, I mean, there's some guys. Joe Burrow has said that there are times where he'll take a hit. And Burrow's never been in concussion protocol in the NFL, so I'm assuming this is LSU or at some point in his career. But he's admitted, like, there are times where you forget a sequence of a game, and you're still there, right?
But you're still playing, and no one would notice it.
Yeah,
which is weird.
Or you don't remember what happened prior to your injury from the game.
Look, we're looking for emergent teams in a league that is muddled and muddy. This was the emergent team before this concussion stuff sidetracked Tua. And I bought in. I think you bought in.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about you, Chad. But Mike McDaniel,
I love Mike McDaniel.
solid guy, and Tua was playing way beyond what I expected. I was ready and saying I was wrong about this guy. Still, Tyreek Hill is he's on pace for 1,900 receiving yards. I'm hopeful for their sake that Tua plugs back in, does not have any kind of head trauma issues, anything. Vital that he make it through the first game without anything. And if they can get back on track, I expect them to get back into that emergent team category. And I think the AFC can become a 4-team thing again, where we're not just talking about Buffalo and Kansas City, but we're also talking about Miami and I think Cincinnati. And I want 2 more teams at least to get into the mix there because we need more. I want the AFC to be what we thought it was going to be, which was stacked. And it ain't stacked right now. But I think the only reason Miami's not the 3rd team is because of the sidetrack concussion thing.
So this is Sunday Night Football. Steelers at Dolphins. And keep in mind,
big storyline.
Kenny Pickett left last week's game. He was a full participant in practice today. So maybe they go back to Pickett. Do they go with Trubisky and again? We'll find out.
But the story of that game is clear, and they're getting a big reintroduction of Tua on Sunday Night Football on NBC.
And Jalen Waddle was limited, I believe. We'll double check that. But I know Mike McDaniel said that there's a chance that he's progressing with his injury. But going to Tyreek Hill briefly. Tyreek Hill this past week against the Vikings, he was Miami's offense in a loss. 12 catches, 177 yards in that game. According to NFL research, there have been 6 instances of a player recording at least 10 receptions and 150 receiving yards in a game this season. Tyreek Hill is 3 of those instances of those 6 already. The guy is on fire.
Incredible. And I'm rooting for Tua. I mean, that's a story that we're going to follow all year, obviously. We're big Mike McDaniel fans, I think, on this show, so we love the start they got off to. I hope that he can re-enter the game and get right back to where he was or close to it pretty quickly. Because that offense was operating at a good click when he was quarterbacking.
No doubt. Waddle officially limited today, so they may have the full arsenal back. I think it was a groin, maybe. Or aggravation there.
I want them at full strength.
If it's not, it's a calf. Because Hill and Waddle were both on the injury report at one point a couple of weeks ago with one of the 2. Either way, Tyreek Hill's getting his. He leads the NFL with 701 receiving yards, whether or not Tua is there or not.
I mean, he's at 1,000 in no time.
Yeah. Should be a fun game. Good game? Well, the NFL hasn't given us many of those. Close game, maybe.
Sunday night's been better than Monday and Thursday.
Still not good.
Josh Booty joins us next.
He'll
we'll talk
be good.
LSU football. If you're looking for a place to bet on a game today or a futures wager, head to OutKick's Odds Finder. OutKick.com/odds. It's where you'll find spreads, totals, and moneyline odds for every upcoming game. I love it because it's super easy to navigate. Bookmark OutKick.com/odds and make OutKick bets a part of your daily sports betting routine. For bets decided by season-long results, head to OutKick's Futures Finder. OutKick.com/futures. Just select your state, place your bet. It's honestly that simple. And similar to the Futures Finder, the Prop Bet Finder allows you to search by player, team, or game for any sport. Check out the OutKick.com/props, and from there, click the Odds tab. You'll go directly to the sportsbook to place your bet. Boost your game day experience with OutKick Bets. OutKick.com/bet. Get the edge with OutKick Bets. Just like that, the final hour is here. OutKick 360 Wednesday edition. 6th and Peabody, our location. Yeehaw Beer, Old Smoky Moonshine. Glad you're with us. If you're listening to this great radio station, or if you're watching across the OutKick network, streaming live at OutKick.com, we hope you'll share the link and spread the word. OutKick Network. You can find us 2 to 5 Central, 3 to 6 Eastern daily. So we broadcast live from Nashville, talking all things NFL, SEC, Power 5, and more. Josh Booty's about to join us, former LSU quarterback and NFL and Major League Baseball player, and the uncle of General Booty.
That's right. And Josh Booty played football, played baseball, played in some cold weather. I've got a coach and coach pitch tonight in some 30-degree temps in our fall ball tournament. And in a single elimination tournament, our first game is tonight. And I'm getting all sorts of pointers from other dads that have had to pitch in cold weather this week because the last couple nights in Nashville, it's dipped down around freezing each night.
Yeah.
And
can you wear a batting glove? Is that illegal?
I don't think that I would do well with the batting glove. I need to feel the ball in some way. I mean, hands going to be freezing. But my method is I'm going to dress somewhat warm, and I'm going to move around a lot. I'm going to do this with my hands right here. Paul, you see what I'm doing? Rubbing them together.
Friction.
I'm going to blow into my hands.
That sounds good on
I'm going to do that before every pitch, and then I'm going to go. Then it's time to go. It is hard, though, when you're looking in the eyes of a 7-year-old girl, and they say that they're freezing and they want to be done or come into the dugout, and you too are freezing. It's hard to be like, you know what? Toughen up.
And you think your
it's
girls...
cold out here. That's what I say. Everybody's cold. Your parents are cold. The other team is cold. We're all cold. Let's try to get through this together.
Short answer. You think your girls are going to respond to this how?
It's been a 2.5 week layoff. We're 0-2 against the team we're playing tonight. Both losses are pretty close. One of the better teams in the league. It's going to be tough, Paul. It's going to be tough.
We stand with you.
Our batting has gone in the wrong trajectory. So that's not a good sign. We were really good in the middle of the season. We've fallen off batting. Fielding's gotten a lot better. We're good in the field now, but batting, not good.
In the fielding sense, you're unlike the actual Red Sox. In the hitting sense, you are.
Former LSU quarterback Josh Booty joins the show. Yeah, you got any pitching or cold weather advice for Chad?
I got a coach pitch to some 7- and 8-year-old girls in softball tonight in 30-degree temps, and I'm getting tips on keeping the hand warm and making sure I can stay accurate.
Yeah, good luck, man. Maybe get some of those True Value hardware winter gloves for the girls. Make sure they got a couple batting gloves on a piece or something. I mean, that's crazy stuff, man, to be that cold playing baseball. I did the minor league thing. I played up in like Beloit, Wisconsin in A-ball when it was like 7 degrees outside, and it was the worst experience of my life. But hey, if you get the W, then it'll all be great tonight at the end of the night.
I like the intimidation factor of giving them some big old work gloves to go to the plate with. It's like, girls, we were punching the clock
Get to
today.
work.
Like big construction workers coming up there with huge tan construction work gloves on. I love it. That's what we're going to do.
Josh Booty, our guest. Josh, I want to get to college in briefly, but because of the two-sport athleticism that you have with football and baseball, this time of year, you have to choose one. It's Thursday night. Are you watching the NFL or Major League Baseball?
Man, it's the NFL. I hate to say it, but I love the football, man. I played baseball early on in my career, but I went back to play football because I just loved it. And one of the things, I love both sports. I really do, and have great relationships with a lot of people in both sports. But in the locker room, and this is funny, you guys will appreciate this, but football guys don't really care about baseball. And then when you're in a baseball locker room, everybody cares and wants to bet on the games, talk about college ball, talk about the NFL, play fantasy league. So every baseball player is into football. Football guys don't even know baseball is going on. I love baseball, so I enjoyed it. But in this time of year is the best, the very best. But until this time of year happens, I think there's a whole lot of people that don't focus on baseball until this time of year, and this is when it gets fun.
Josh Booty, our guest, former LSU quarterback. We'll start here with Tennessee. What you saw from Alabama and what you saw them do to LSU. Yeah. What do you make of the Vols, and how far can they go?
Yeah, I think they're an efficient ball club on offense. I mean, we know they're setting all kind of records, especially for themselves and what they've done early on in the league and league play and putting up points and what Hendon Hooker's been able to get accomplished. It's like they never shoot themselves in the foot. They don't turn the ball over. They're efficient when I talk about a complete team. They run the ball enough. They're balanced. They complete a lot of balls. He hits some big plays. It's not, a do or die offense. I love that. I think that holds up, in a long season, and it has so far. I think in a couple of weeks, of course, they play Georgia, and that's going to be a monster ball game in Athens. And Georgia's defense presents probably a lot more problems than Alabama's defense, especially in the back end of the defense. Alabama let a lot of stuff happen that Saban usually doesn't let happen. So I think that's kind of going to be the difference in the game is Alabama has a great quarterback, a great running back in Gibbs, but Georgia's a little bit more complete as an entire team, and especially a team defense. Alabama's going to be probably better from here on out because of that game on defense, and now they're going to pay attention to every little thing that Saban's telling them and the defense coordinator's telling them to get to where they need to get. But Tennessee played amazing, and they beat our brains out. It wasn't even close. And I didn't know that they were that good. I had talked to T. Martin a month ago, and he said, we've got some holes like at every level on the defense. Well, I'm not real sure that we're going to hold up in the big games, and I hope we do because we got athletes, but they, some inexperience and some guys that transferred and left. And he goes, I just hope we hold up on defense because our offense is going to be splendid. And they were able to do that. They gave up a lot of points, of course, but in the end, they did what they had to do in that last possession, really held Alabama to have to kick that long field goal. And we see what happens. He misses it right, and then Hendon goes down, steps into a couple throws, and makes some great plays at the end of the ball game to win.
You certainly know what it's like to beat Bama in the It's About Time game. When you see the celebration on the field, do you think about 2000 and what that meant for LSU?
Yeah, it was a lot of the same. A lot of fans with a lot of heartbreak leading up to that game. I think we hadn't won at home in 32 years, and of course every other year we play them at home. So it had been a long time and a big drought, much like Tennessee's 15-game drought or whatever it was leading into the ball game. And there's been some awesome games in Baton Rouge. There was one in '97 when we beat Florida. They were number one, and Spurrier came in, and the night the goalpost went down, exactly like what happened at Neyland Stadium, where they're carrying it up over the stadium and out of the stands through the corridors of the stadium to the river. That kind of stuff. And I think that's what's so amazing about college football. You don't get that in the NFL. I love the brand of football in the NFL and how good the players are and the strategy and the sophistication of an NFL game. But I'm telling you, there's nothing like college football on Saturday nights. And Tennessee is right where they want to be, and they just got to play this thing out. But they've got a real opportunity this year to do something special, and they've got great leaders, and Heupel's a great coach. So I'm excited for them. But the Saturday night that we had in Tiger Stadium when we beat Bama, of course, wasn't probably near as good as the one that Tennessee had because we weren't undefeated and Bama wasn't number one. And so that was an awesome, monkey to get off our back. But what Tennessee did was super special.
When Alabama's Quindarius Robinson muffed the punt in the game and Nick Saban was going ballistic, screaming, "What are you doing? What the bleep are you doing?" I thought about every past Nick Saban player that's probably had that outburst directed at them. Yep. You played for a Nick Saban that has often been described as much more edgy than Nick Saban now. He's softened over the years, is what players have said when they come back and watch him coach now. What was early Nick Saban at LSU like being quarterback for him?
Well, everybody knows he's demanding and he wants to get the most out of his guys. And we all appreciate that. And we work hard and we work smart. That's one thing that I thought that we did better than pre-Saban at LSU is we just work smart. But, every little thing matters. It's like your football IQ, your intelligence, your effort, your enthusiasm. Like he reads into all of it. He coaches every player different because everybody has different things that they're good at or bad at, or maybe the background of the player or, their family home life. I mean, he's so good at putting all that together and coming up with an amazing product on Saturdays. Right. And I think that's what he does well is he gets everybody excited to play, and knowing that this next drive or this next down, or that's one thing he told me is like, I wanted to try to go out and show everybody that I could win a Heisman. I mean, every quarterback in America wants to do that at big schools, but he's like, it doesn't happen all at once. It's like Rome wasn't built in a day. You got to make a good decision on first down. Then let's talk about second down. And I think that's what has made Brady so well, the GOAT so well in playing in the NFL, is he takes one play at a time. But Saban preached that to me, and I know he's done a lot of other things for other players. So I was appreciative of how hard he coached me, and I'd still work out kind of thinking with him in the back of my mind, yelling at me or doing something to motivate us. And I think that was a big part of my life. Just 1 year I had with Saban, probably the experiences, are things that I think about more than any other 1 year of my life in playing football, is just because how heads up he is, how hard he is to play for. But we felt like we were entitled, like we should win the game. We worked harder than the other team. There's no way they worked harder or smarter. And so I don't care if I get yelled at, because I feel like I want to get coached and I want to get better. And I think that's what the players that go to Bama know. He's a tough one, and he's getting a little easier because he's getting older and his energy level's probably down. And he hadn't won any championships when he coached me. But by God, it was tough in the beginning because he was wanting to win that first one. He got it there at LSU a couple years after I left. Would have loved to play for him longer.
Well, something jumped out to me, in this Monday press conference. You were talking about the enthusiasm, knowing that how to get the team excited to play and all of that. One thing you brought up was before the Tennessee game that his team normally chants in the tunnel right as they're about to run out, and they were all silent, kind of looking around the stadium. And he said, I walked up to them and said, God, why are we not chanting? Let's go. Let's, come on, do what you always do. And he repeated that and said, I knew something was up with something was going on mentally before the game when that happened. Yeah. Do you have a recollection of Saban noticing details like that before a game and how you guys run through a tunnel and get ready for a game?
He notices everything, man. I mean, how many pimples you got on your face. I mean, it's crazy how he even keeps up with this stuff. And, he does it differently. There's great coaches like Pete Carroll. My brother played SC. He does it differently. There's a lot of love, a lot of slaps on the butt. Here we go, baby. A lot of positives. Saban will get after your butt. Like I promise you, he was in that tunnel getting after their butt or thinking, what should I say to these guys to motivate them, to get them to be just like they were the week before because we won the week before, or that's how we do it, And like you said, I think for those players, it was probably such a spectacle at Neyland Stadium, that it was such a big environment that those guys were probably taking it all in and forgot to get fired up and do their normal little chants or whatever in the tunnel. And I probably would be like that too. This is what football's all about, soaking it up. It's like when the Star Spangled Banners get played and you're on the sideline. It's almost like, you take a deep breath and enjoy it because it's like, this is unbelievable where I'm at right now. I've worked to get right here. And so you got to give a little bit of something to the players because they're probably going through stuff that they've never gone through at that type, at that height or that level of, pageantry around the stadium that night or that afternoon.
How did your nephew, who plays quarterback at Oklahoma, come to be named General Booty?
Well, Abram, my brother that named him, his son, he was a military. He loved Army guys and stuff when we were young. He goes, and we all knew Major Applewhite, Louisiana, and some of these other guys that were kind of military names. And Abram's like, dude, I'm going to name General. And we're like, you sure about that, man? And he's like, yeah, I'm going to name him General. So Abram played with me at LSU. He's a great wide receiver, but he just wanted to name him General. And, it's stuck. Of course, the media runs with it, and it's a great name. He's got to be good at something if you're named General Booty, so you better bring it. That's what we told him all growing up is, man, you better bring it. He goes, well, that's what I want to do, and now he's got the opportunity to play college, really, good quality college football at Oklahoma and be with Jeff Lebby and get coached. And he's just a good kid who wants to make a name for himself, but he didn't name himself. He's had to live with it, but he likes it.
Well, I mean, the reaction to College Game Day having fun with it had to be awesome. I mean, you've got everyone, even Reese Davis is making booty jokes. I mean, that was epic.
Yeah, I saw that at the Texas game. It's exciting for him to actually be there in that arena too, like these other kids in the tunnel at Alabama. It's like, it's fun to be in the Red River Shootout game and him to be, on the TV. We didn't get the chance to go. I live in South Florida and I didn't make that game. But it was fun to see that stuff's starting to happen. I can only imagine if he does get to play one day and he does play well, the media will be able to run with that, and that can only help him, in terms of just coverage and people, kind of waiting to see what's happening next with General.
Josh Booty, our guest, how are you judging LSU this year? It's odd that the over-under preseason, we were discussing this as a topic. It's weird to see LSU where the bar was around 7 wins. And right now they can do better than that. And here comes an unbeaten Ole Miss team to town where we're trying to figure out how good the Rebels are because they haven't really played the caliber of schedule that they're about to in this gauntlet to finish.
Yeah. They've played well at times, really well at times, and really poorly at times. And I think consistency is what Brian Kelly's trying to get inculcated into that locker room. It's like, okay, guys, we have talent. LSU is always going to have good talent. Like, we might not have supreme talent this year. We played, I think, the bowl game last year with 39 scholarship athletes, and so we're going to have to do a good job recruiting. The cupboard was a little empty, but like our wide receiver group is fantastic, but they weren't in the game plan the first 5 or 6 weeks of the season until last week against Florida. And you could tell those guys were down. Y'all probably saw the Florida State game to start the year. Yes. It looked like they were already out of it before the first series of the game. It looked like they weren't into the offense. They didn't feel or believe that they were going to have a lot to do with the outcome of the game, and they didn't until the final drive. And I think that was the hump that Brian Kelly's had to deal with, is like trying to get Jaden Daniels up to speed with how they want to call plays, with him reading a defense, going through his progressions. It looked good against Florida. Florida played a bad game defensively, but a lot of it had to do with our athletes too, I think. And so I think we need to create a little balance on offense. He needs to, Jaden played really wonderfully last week. That was his best game by far. He threw for 340, rushed for 3 touchdowns, threw for 3 touchdowns. I mean, he's an elusive guy, but a lot of times he gets his eyes down and wants to run. And like a guy like Hendon Hooker looks for the open guy. And then if it's not there, then you run at the last second. You don't escape the rush just because you can run. And now you abandon the pass game. And I think that's what he was doing, was abandoning the pass game early. And that's why the receivers were frustrated, and rightly so. I think if he'll just go through his progressions, understand, where the safeties are at, where the corners are at, take what they give you. If he starts to do that, we're going to be a lot better team than I thought we would be, knowing what I knew at the beginning of the season and then knowing what I know now. I think we could be a pretty good team, and we're going to give Ole Miss fits if he plays like that. And Ole Miss, we know they can score points, so it could be one of those shootouts.
Josh Booty, our guest, tell us about the social challenge app Boola that you have created as a part owner. And the concept's cool because what you're doing, the social media apps don't necessarily let you go as far as some of the trash talk that you guys allow.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I appreciate you guys asking me and having me on to talk about it. Boola is the name of the app, and you can download it on the App Store, Boola Challenge. And we're the first ever social challenge platform with a verdict on the blockchain. So if you think like TikTok with a verdict, and it's a call to action app, we think the next big thing in social has got to be something that takes you to the future. Because right now, like if we're all at the Tennessee Bama game, we take a picture in the suite, we post it, it's already happened. And that content is king, and everybody wants to see it. Like TikTok has 80-year-old ladies doing dance offs. I mean, it's awesome. But at the same time, there's got to be something that's next in social. We feel like this can kind of take you from present to future instead of past to present in terms of content and the way things are seen on social. So we're trying to create that by bringing in dares, wagers, challenges, and then putting it on the blockchain and memorializing it in a blank canvas type of atmosphere to where everybody can be like Dude Perfect, the trick shot artist, or Jackass and do some crazy stuff, or a handicapper. So I could Boola you on anything. It could be video games, or I bet you can't get the girl's number at the bar for a drink. It could be absolutely anything, and then everybody can see it. Then they could piggyback some of those bets or Boolas is what we're calling it, and have fun with it. So there's a viral component to it, and there'll be tokenization and wallet functionalities and all this stuff involved in 2023. But right now, it's the Disney version of gambling. It's the Boola app.
B-U-L-A, as you hear that, Boola, B-U-L-A. And I'm sure that people can do this for some fundraising too, which I was reading about. You can do some cool things for fundraising, then actually pay off the bet there too. I like the concept of it, man.
Sounds cool.
It's a good idea.
Thank you, brother. We're excited.
Where are you? You say you're in Florida now?
Well, I live in Miami, but we've got an event Friday night at the Ole Miss LSU game at Fred's Bar in Tigerland, and it's an iconic space there in Baton Rouge. So I'm actually in New Orleans. I just flew in an hour ago. I'm at this beautiful old hotel room that you see in my background in the French Quarter. So
I saw
I'm
some
in New
fleur-de-lis behind you, so I thought you might be in Louisiana.
I don't know.
Either that or your grandmother's
like
house. Yeah, one of the two.
So, yeah, man, I'm in Louisiana till Monday. I can't wait for this showdown with Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin. My man Lane Kiffin comes into Tiger Stadium. What's he going to do with that?
You're a week late. You had Burrow and Chase there last week at the Dome.
Yep, that's right.
And
that's
putting
right.
on a show. Out. Yeah. Hey, man, thanks for taking the time with us. Really cool of you, and best of luck with the app. We'll continue the football conversation with you at some point, I'm sure, down the road.
Thank you guys so much, man. I really enjoyed being with you guys. Thanks a lot. Y'all have a great rest of the week.
Yeah, you
Thanks,
too.
You
There's
too.
Josh Booty, quarterback, baseball player. And,
Fun guy.
Seems like he'd be fun to hang out with in New Orleans.
Yes. Oh, yeah. But luckily, he took the time before hitting New Orleans to join us.
I think he
there.
flew
would have
in,
been
got to
fun
his hotel,
if
and
he
then joined us.
took the time after
right.
heading New Orleans.
That's right. Hit us up on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at OutKick360. Coming up, SEC news and notes, and we'll start with Jermaine Burton, what happened on the field right after the kick was good for the Alabama wide receiver, what Nick Saban has said about his receiver, what we have seen Commissioner Sankey say. All of that and more straight ahead on OutKick 360.
Hey, listen, if you missed my show, don't at me. I've got you covered. Take a look. Amazon gets the first Black Friday game. Don't tell me, Jimmy Irsay, don't give me this crap about the Shield. It ain't about the Shield. It's about the Benjamins. You got games on Monday, Thursday, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's Day, Black Friday. Hell, you'd have a game on Independence Day, and you will eventually. You'll eventually move the damn Canton game all the way over to the 4th of July. Don't even at me about it, people. Don't even try to at me about it, people. You know that's coming. You do. You know that's coming. We all know that's coming. So don't at me. Man, the NFL, I'll listen. But don't even try that crap with me. I know 5 different people, 3 women, 2 guys, or maybe it's the other way. Yeah, it's the other way around, that hired private investigators when they were going through divorces. I mean, I did. So, what do media guys do when they don't like you or they don't like me or they try to dig up dirt? So this isn't about, maybe Jimmy Irsay's comments were in response to digging up dirt, which clearly they were, but the NFL getting rid of him isn't about hiring private investigators. I mean, hell, private investigators get hired because Susie down the street wants to know what Cheatin' Jimmy is doing in a hotel room when he's gone. This is about workplace environment, right? I mean, that's what this is truly about.
I think it's become about that. I think that left the door open for Malusa's team.
9 to 11 Eastern time at OutKick.com.
What's up, guys? It's Tommy. Make sure you follow me on social media at Tommy Laren and check out OutKick.com for exclusive content. But in case you missed my last episode, here's what you missed. Does it frustrate you at all that this no cash bail, some of these felon coddling policies that allow people to commit even violent crimes and then be released, does that at all frustrate you that that's swept up in that banner of criminal justice reform? Because to me, it seems like it does a great disservice to what you're actually trying to do, and people don't know the difference.
I think what's frustrating me the most right now is that we are going on 50 years of tough on crime policies, and we've got the data to show that they don't work. We've got the data to show that if we reinvest money that we're saving from not incarcerating that person for a technical violation, from not locking up that person for, using drugs, from not locking up somebody who has a severe mental health issue and needs to get help, If we're actually reinvesting that money into programs that work, we have data, we have evidence that shows that it works, that these folks will get back on their feet and succeed, and that it'll prevent new crimes from happening, because the last thing we want is crime on our streets.
The service said they have dissuaded him from coming to Capitol Hill. They told him they don't have the resources to protect him here. So at the moment he is not coming, but that could change.
Oh, he comes, I'm gonna punch him out. This is
Oh,
my
wow,
moment.
I would pay to see
I've
that.
been waiting for this, for trespassing on the Capitol grounds. I'm gonna punch him out, and I'm gonna go to jail, and I'm gonna be happy.
Ladies, gentlemen, they, thems, that would be our elderly Speaker of the House threatening to punch out a sitting president and be happy about it. Boy, for all the grief Donald Trump got and still gets about being not presidential, that right there doesn't sound very congressional to me, Nancy. But of course, no one on the left is condemning the speaker for her threat of violence. Instead, it's celebrated as valiant, badass, and noble. What's up, guys? It's Tommy, and I am getting married. So tune in tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern for a special wedding edition episode. You don't want to miss this.
The Phillies lead the Padres 4-2, but the Padres have quickly made this a game. It's only bottom second. Josh Bell, the second to go yard.
Josh Bell is my buddy.
Handed you a baseball in Pittsburgh.
Threw me a baseball, which I made a nice play on.
Kind of an extended handoff. It
No.
wasn't. Was it a long
We were
throw?
10 rows
That was a toss,
deep.
yeah. It was
I
a
felt
toss.
like it was just like right there. Like he was just, his arm was so
That's how I
focused.
make it feel. The way
Reached
I
out
catch,
and-
the way
No,
I catch
it
the ball.
felt close because we were literally the only people there
in
that
the
day
stadium.
in Cincinnati.
We survived, what, a 2-hour rain delay on like a Thursday afternoon game?
Yep.
Big day.
That's how we do
Pirates, Reds. What a
The
game.
big disappointment there is that you can't get the damn chili without a dog.
Oh, that's right,
Cincinnati's
yeah.
ballpark, Great
Yeah.
American Ballpark.
We'll keep you updated on the score. Game 2, Phillies already lead 1-0 in the
Nightcap,
series.
the big game, obviously, today.
Here's Nola versus Nola, Paul.
This is very cool.
Ready? Here we
Brother
go. Aaron
pitching to
Nola
his
versus
brother.
his brother, Nola.
So-
Austin Nola.
Who's the older of the two? Do we know?
It's got to be Aaron. I would
It's
I
the
would think.
first brother combination in postseason history.
This is
It's
impressive.
amazing how often in baseball there's stuff that you've never seen before, considering the length of the history of the game.
Hit us up on Twitter at OutKick360. That's where you'll see the poll that we're about to post with Jermaine Burton and what happened post-game for Tennessee and Alabama, wide receiver for Alabama, striking a female, clear on the cell phone video. Trey Wallace tracked her down. She confirmed it was indeed her that was on that video with Jermaine Burton as Burton was walking off the field.
The TikTok's been made private.
But you can see it at OutKick and Trey's story based on what I read this morning. Are you just saying since this morning?
Yes.
Okay.
I looked at his story, and the TikTok's private. There's a secondary Twitter thing, but you can't really tell what's happening.
And there's another video of the cell phone up in the face from another guy who was on the field where Burton's walking by him, clearly frustrated, and the reaction has been poor, very mixed.
The
very
defense
mixed.
the defense of him doing this to her, like she shouldn't be on the field, she deserves it, is There's way too much of it, and it's preposterous.
Right.
Women, man, whoever is getting hit by him in this fashion, it's completely inappropriate. Completely inappropriate. And anybody that's saying she deserved it, I mean, just think in this day and age of she deserved it in any context of a woman being hit. It's primitive.
Right, yeah. And in this case, this is exactly the scene and the reaction that all of the administrators at every college and commissioners across college sports are pointing to
avoid
as a
rushing the field.
We don't want, anything to happen that would put anyone in the harm's way. Their safety is of the utmost importance. And I think we look at it from the fan base storming the field and
accidental stuff.
Carrying on, yeah. And this is more like players. You have the opposing players who have been talking trash to the fans, and the fans talking trash to them on the side of the field, up in the stands, right? They make a play, you go over there, you're getting some water, and you look up and say something to them. Happens in the NFL too. And that can spill over in a heated rivalry game to the field. Now, we don't know whatever was said down there, but it happened so fast, and there's pandemonium returning to Neyland. This is Burton's reaction, and
yeah, you can still see the video
awful.
Up right now. The Legends of Lindsey Nelson posted it, and I'm watching it on a loop right now over and over, where I think pretty obviously you can see her head move. He kind of almost pie face slaps her in the side of the head and knocks her head out of the way as he's passing. And I also want to make note that there's really no one within 3 feet of him or bothering him as he's walking off the field, because I've heard a lot of this stuff about, you get on the field and get in someone's face and taunt them after an emotional loss like that, and you get what's coming to you. And I'm thinking, go watch that video and tell me this young woman is harassing Jermaine Burton.
Yeah.
She's celebrating with her friends off to the side. I don't think she even sees him until he smacks her in the head on the way off the field. It's disgusting behavior. Let's be both nuanced and absolute when we talk about this today, because seemingly no one can do that. Davey Hudson sent us a story where a guy named Steve, who's an Alabama fan, decided to tweet in response to the video, "I'm glad he did it. Should have knocked her head off. Not supposed to be on the field anyway." And some Tennessee fans hit up Kell Incorporated, which is his employer, and that gentleman has since been fired from his job. Kell Incorporated posted, "Kell does not stand for or tolerate offensive or hateful comments toward any group or individual. We take this issue very seriously, and as a result, Kell and this employee have parted ways." After that guy tweeted that out. Good example that you shouldn't be a complete idiot on social media, especially when using your name. I've heard from a lot of anonymous accounts, one that's a Vandy fan site, and some Alabama ones that will just say, a Vandy fan was saying, "Oh, dudes are bodying girls every day, and Tennessee fans are up in arms about this because some girl was trespassing and happened to get hit by someone, la-di-da, whatever." Let's be clear about this, okay? They're two separate things and two separate videos here. In one video, there is a male student, it looks like, that has got his cell phone up, and he's videoing and maybe taunting Jermaine Burton as he's walking off the field. I think about as close as Paul Kuharsky got to Rodney Harrison at the Super Bowl when Rodney Harrison took issue with it. But Paul wasn't taunting him. He was trying to take a picture of him. But getting it close to his face and walking towards him, Jermaine Burton almost shoves the phone back into his face, okay? Not smart of Jermaine Burton, but understandable. If a dude is putting a phone in your face and taunting you, some student, and you're trying to get off the field, you might knock that phone out of his hand and keep walking. Something that if you're Nick Saban, you have a little conversation with Jermaine Burton and you move on about your day. Tell him not to do it again.
Let's comment on that fan behavior also. You just beat them. Go celebrate it with your people. Your time with their people is over.
Yeah.
Well, your time with their people in close proximity just started because you're getting off the field at the same time that they're coming on.
Right. But don't make the case for the people against rushing the field. Rush the field to go celebrate with your people.
We're showing some unexpected nuance here that people don't seem to have on social media, okay? On everything, every issue, there's no nuance. This is the nuance. Do that, I don't have a big problem with it. on any team, any player, okay, go swat the phone over. You can go pick it up and continue on and show that guy, hey, just don't do that as I'm leaving the field. You're going to take issue to it. But we're talking about two completely different things, really three completely different things here. What Jermaine Burton did in that video, by going out of his way to extend his arm and his hand to swat at the head of a female Tennessee student
who makes a huge effort to sidestep him,
is disgusting. And he should be suspended for multiple games and probably arrested, quite frankly. I know that she told Trey Wallace that that's all she confirmed it was her in the video, and that's all we're going to say right now. She may be pressing charges. I'm fine with her pressing charges if she does. I'm fine if she decides not to and just wants this to be over.
She doesn't need to say she's
fine with it either way.
Didn't suffer life-threatening injuries like that photographer.
No, but he did assault her. I mean, if he hit her head, he assaulted her. I don't think she's injured, to any great degree. But again, I'm fine with whatever she decides to do in that instance. But Nick Saban and Alabama need to do something with Jermaine Burton because this is a terrible, terrible look. We haven't seen it. Of all the other Alabama players and all the Tennessee fans that were on the field, I haven't heard of a single big incident from a fan, from anything else. Jermaine Burton was involved in two. That's on video that we know of. Could be more on his way off the field. And one of them involved completely out of the way swatting at the head of a female student. Something needs to be done here. And for people to defend that and just do that, well, they're trespassing, they should be on the field. Look, I get that there's rules in place about charging a playing surface for a reason. It is dangerous. When we were watching it Saturday night, Hutton, I'm thinking, I really hope someone doesn't get hurt by the goalpost when it was about to completely collapse, right? I'm looking at people underneath it.
Yeah.
And maybe this is the parent in me always looking at the worst possible scenario, but I'm thinking, don't fall down and no one get trampled. That's the first thing I'm thinking when that's happening, right? But that does not excuse, because people get excited and storm the field when the game's over, doesn't excuse a participant in the game to do whatever they want to someone on the field.
No, the young athletes take heed of this moment and learn from it. Your responsibility at this moment, after suffering a tough loss, is to be composed and to exit the field of play in a responsible and mature way. Maybe even shake the hand of your opponent. But, barring that, exit the field and don't engage in this method.
It is extremely difficult to say that knowing, how crazy things got immediately on the kick and how far the tunnel is from their visiting sideline. It's amazing to me. This is the only incident we've seen.
Yeah. But you put your helmet on and you put your head down and you walk.
They have a security guard for Nick Saban, and then you have Bryce Young walking off with everyone else. Like, it gets crazy. It's not like everyone's sober.
Well, I'm not saying that the fans are innocent by any means. I'm saying that it's on the players to deal with the circumstances of the moment. Certainly the fans need to behave.
And the fans in this instance are likely around the same age.
Yes, the fans need to go cheer and celebrate their team and leave the other guys alone.
And that's what they were doing.
And the other guys need to buckle their chin straps
part of cheering
and
in
walk
the
to their...
is MFing the player number 3 on the visiting bench.
Well, it shouldn't be. Yeah, it should be go celebrate with your guys. So there's culpability there. But if you're a player on the other team, buckle your chin strap and walk to your locker room.
All I'm saying is, if we're being real about the situation, part of the fan base in every road environment, I'm not talking about Knoxville, you are going all at the visiting team. You're going for the throat. And then as you storm the field, you're not. That doesn't make sense.
You are. And again, that's why I wanted to specify between the two, because people are very confused, because there's a lot of people responding as if the video of him knocking the male student's phone away is the video. I'm thinking there's two videos here. Right. There are one guy, 2 instances. I don't have an issue with him knocking the phone out of the dude's hand that's putting it in his face. Look, if he would have trucked a male student that was talking trash to him on his way to the locker room, this is a different story. The dude reached out for no reason on this video and smacked the side of a girl's head who was celebrating with her friends.
And she made a big effort to get out of his way. She took a big hop
I don't
sideways.
think she saw him, Paul. I don't know if she was
well,
even
she took a big hop sideways anyway, whether she saw him or not.
I mean, what? And I'm getting people responding saying, well, she must have been harassing him.
She was not harassing.
What is that 5'2", 115-pound girl doing
saying
to harass this
him.
6'1", 215-pound Alabama wide receiver?
Yeah,
Give me a break.
You can tell the whatever was said as he's going off the field is bothering him, and he reacts to this. And who knows? But it's still no excuse to do it. And he's very close to the tunnel at that point anyway, based on my recollection of seeing it this morning. And I'll pull it back up. Here's the other thing, too, to keep in perspective and what Saban's comments have to reflect.
Let's get to these comments.
So Saban, his quote is, I think it's a difficult situation. It's a difficult situation for the league. It's a difficult situation for all of us and that are in this situation. We certainly don't condone any mistreatment of anybody, whether they should or shouldn't be there. I think you've got to have respect for other people. Now, that's the
quote butt coming?
Well, so there's more to this, but you have to keep in mind, this happens to Alabama and virtually no one else in the SEC.
Yeah, who's being stormed when you win.
Alabama has had the field stormed on each of the 6 road losses that they've had. Trey pointed that out, too. The last 6 road losses, the fans are on the field. And
so they should be used to it.
There should be some practice.
You can be used to it, but you change. I mean, Jermaine Burton wasn't playing for Alabama last year. So
fair.
It's a new situation, and it's happening every year. I don't recall it happening in College Station, Chad, but I do remember thinking, man, it is hard to get out of here. And if you're a visiting player and you're the number 1 team at the time, you have to stay composed. That's part of it.
And you're coached. You should be coached to stay composed.
No doubt.
The same way you should be coached not to commit 17 penalties.
Sure, and they're good enough to overcome the 17 penalties, and all but Jermaine Burton should be presumed to be good enough to be well coached.
We're talking about one guy.
Like they are. But put in perspective, like this happens anytime Bama's on the road. I mean, it didn't happen. It's not happening when Florida was at Neyland, but it happens for Alabama for a reason. And by the way, good for that. I love the field storming in this case. It's completely opposite of someone
the best
taking
field storming I can remember.
Taking off for it in some protest on Monday Night Football or Thursday Night Football during the game and having no idea what that one individual's doing. But the commissioner with Greg Sankey. Chad, I'll pull up his comment in just a moment.
Well, and again, we're talking about one person and 2 videoed incidents with Jermaine Burton and no other issues, which I think is pretty remarkable. There are no other big issues.
Right.
Now, someone may claim something else was said or done later, but when that happens, I'm fully aware of the possibilities for things to go awry quickly. And that's why until this happened, I'm thinking pretty remarkable that both teams got off the field with no big issue, and there were no big injuries reported by anyone that was on the field. Student, adult fan, coach, player, anyone, until this comes out.
So here's Commissioner Greg Sankey, quote, I don't think there's clarity around what's happened, but let's back up. This is not an indictment of a fan base. We worked last week in advance and University of Tennessee athletics program had a plan in place to manage. And then you have a last-second field goal and the emotion. But it goes back further. I'll go back to the mid-2000s when we first adopted a policy that's very clear. Stay off the field. And if there are field incursions, then there are fines and it escalates. That has not deterred people. Last year we had 3 different circumstances when fans were on the field. We have warned that creates problems. And then he goes on to mention, the celebration is all fun and do it in the stands. But, he could have also been commenting without seeing the video. Again,
this isn't going to deter people either. $100,000 fine.
I had a primary complaint about
that. A girl getting hit like this in a way that she's not dramatically hurt. It's not going to deter people.
This idea that you've got 300 people working security
is going to stop 100,000 people
that are getting $17 to $25 an hour that are there. I mean, I worked security in college for a fraternity fundraiser. They gave me a yellow jacket, and I had no business where I was.
A baton and what do I say?
I was
flashlight
like
and a
middle school
sash.
kids
I was like
Project X.
I was some scrub security guy for Alan Jackson one night. I'm thinking, if anyone wants to come on stage and go at him,
I ain't stopping him.
I'm not going to die for Alan Jackson.
99% of the people aren't stopping anyone.
Chattahoochee's a terrific song, but I'm not dying for this guy.
They are there for optics. And when you have 100,000 people that want on the field, good
They're
luck
gonna
with
win.
any rule you want to place right there. The priority should be getting the 70 players that travel off the field. And then you're not going to have any issues.
I agree with that.
You're absolutely right, and the focus is wrong there. Keeping fans off is a lot harder than getting a team off.
Create a bunker around the team that's not celebrating, and just get them off the field the same way you would Nick Saban. I like that idea. Use your security for that instead of trying to arbitrarily stop 70,000 people probably that's rushing onto the field at that point.
But in no way am I saying that that's the issue for what happened here.
No.
But I am surprised it doesn't happen more often. And if you're going to point to, we're fining people and they're going to continue to go up, fine Tennessee anything you wanted that night.
Well, their president even said that. Randy Boyd is on video.
Yeah.
They turned him and said, "What do you think about that $100,000 fine?" And he's smoking a cigar saying, "I'd do it every week if it meant this type of game and that type of win." I'm sure Greg Sankey hates that coming from the president of Tennessee, but that's the way everyone felt in the moment. It doesn't excuse Burton from doing this.
No. And now Saban has a chance to send a message with any suspension that may happen after this circulates more or whatever. But even some papers in Bama are saying, this is a chance for Saban to kind of get everything in order a bit. But it is remarkable that we don't see this more often from them and how they handle these situations. When they know it's over, bam, everyone's off. Coming up, we get to the scoreboards. We'll let you know.
The batting brother, Nola, grounded out to third off of his pitching brother.
We'll get you ready for the evening as well with some big matchups. It's next on OutKick 360.
Hey, I'm David Hookstead, host of American Joyride, a podcast where we shine a spotlight on patriotism and American exceptionalism. Take a look.
This is something, again, that I really like to ask military guys because I feel like they have unique perspectives, sometimes that surprise people. But most importantly, in my opinion, anyone who's sacrificed on any level tends to be very grateful or more grateful than just your average person. So when you hear people maybe say that America is a terrible place or that we're an evil country full of evil people, do you kind of cringe when you hear that? Like, what's your reaction when you turn on the news and it's just nonstop negativity around the clock about how awful this place is?
Well, I actually don't turn on the news anymore because of that.
Smart.
It's one, not true. And it's unbelievably toxic how that mindset and hearing it all the time. Even if you believe it, then you go around believing that about your own nation all the time. Like, that's a horrible way to feel about who you is. They're not leaving, right? They're not finding a more noble country to go to. They're just staying here and they're sulking and they're spreading this horrible idea about how shameful we should all feel all the time. And I don't want to live that way, but I don't believe it. And so listening to it just pisses me off. I don't think that anyone is really able to say that with a straight face unless they have paid no attention to world history.
Right.
Like, it takes a real level of ignorance of history to say that America is unique in its cruelty. Like, it's just absurd. It's really, we're not void of it, but we are certainly not unique in it. I went on a bender around the time I went to Naked and Afraid because I felt like I could use these books to harness a better perspective and get me through the suffering that I anticipated. And they were recommendations by Jordan Peterson, who I like to, listen to a lot of the things he says. He's a very interesting person as well. But I read The Gulag Archipelago. I read Mao's Famine, Unit 731.
The old Japanese torture unit.
Oh, yeah. I read the making of, what was it? It was another German book about the psychology of how they got these German policemen to do murders who were just regular cops.
Oh, yeah. I think I know what you're talking about. And it's about how like none of them opted out of it. Like they just all were okay. I know the book you're referring to.
Yeah, man. And sort of the peer pressure involved, or the, how that happens. I read all of those books, and I'll be honest, it probably took me 3 or 4 months to get over them. Like Unit 731 with the Japanese torture camps was specifically difficult. The rape of Nanking, that was another one. Holy hell. Like, how could you look at America and honestly believe, like, yes, we had slavery, but slavery was brought here because it was everywhere else, right? Like, this was the place everyone was going. We didn't invent it here, but we did get rid of it. And we killed a whole lot of people to do that. And I think that the people that say that, one, are either trying to be trendy and different, and they just don't understand what the hell they're saying.
Make sure to catch every single episode of American Joyride at OutKick.com.
Phillies still lead the Padres 4-2. It's now in the top of the fourth with 2 out. OutKick 360 wrapping up Wednesday's edition. Big show tomorrow with Armando and Trey, Michael McHenry, and more. Guys, we had the poll, OutKick 360, on Twitter. What should be Alabama wide receiver Jermaine Burton's punishment for hitting a woman on the field in Neyland Stadium? Hashtag Go Vols, hashtag Roll Tide. The poll right now.
The leader right now is at 42% saying that he should be arrested, followed by multi-game suspension, 21%, one-game suspension at 19%, nothing at 18%. Post-arrest, we're very even with the other 3 options, including nothing should be done to him.
But only 20% say nothing. Everybody else thinks something.
18% say nothing, which is last right now.
So 82% of people think something has to happen.
All 18% are Bama fans, is my guess.
You can chime in at OutKick 360. Paul, you are very confident in your Yanks tonight.
I am. I just have a feeling they're going to carry over. They just won 2 elimination games. I think they got good vibes going. I don't feel good about the series. I think the Astros are probably a better team. But, to make it a good series, you got to win one of these 2 in Houston, and I think the Yankees will make it a good series.
Right before the postseason, I had this feeling that their bats were going to, and they did. And they did yesterday. Now they've got, their top pitcher going back to Houston.
Here's the bet I just made, parlay. Yanks money line, home run for Matt Carpenter, who's starting in left field, and Jamison Tyone, 2 strikeouts or more.
OutKick.com/bet is where you can do that.
In baseball, the best team does not always win in a series. See the Phillies beating the Braves. Doesn't always happen. Braves are better.
We'll talk more of the postseason tomorrow, plus tons of college and NFL football. Armando Salguero has been at the owners' meetings. We'll have details of all the background there. OutKick 360 starts at 2 Central, 3 Eastern.
Please don't block the box, but lock your locks. See ya.